Hello and welcome to Aha Moments. This one is entitled Invisible Enemies and was originally released on November 20th. So if you received this by email on November 20th and jumped on the YouTube, congratulations. So you all obviously read it and are interested to just get a little more. And, we are going to drill down on that today. If you did not get it and you're not on the email list, jump on the email list at ahumanaapproach.com and get your Aha Moment Mondays every single Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. And then we can jump on these calls together and unpack them a little bit. So you know what aha moments are. You have had aha moments. I believe that we learn one aha moment at a time. I believe that everything that we do to shift happens with a little awakening maybe, or sometimes that slap across the head that really, something drastic that happens, a job loss, missing your flight, a death in the family. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen like that really rock us, and but they create a learning and an expansion in us that we were unprepared for. So with these aha moments, I have been writing these for about 8 years now, and they are, first of all, I'm always talking to myself first. I want you to be aware of that. So everything that I am saying, I'm not standing on a soapbox here. I am learning this all myself. So I've been studying the mind and the brain and behavior and universal law and that entire big spectrum for over 25 years. And as I read something, or I see a post, or I experience something myself, I always tend to challenge. Why did that happen? Why did I see it? What does that mean? And for me, aha moment, the material just pops out all the time. So there's always lots to learn and always lots going on in life. So I share those, and that's what this is here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the Aha Moment Monday that was released on November 20th, and then we'll take a few minutes to discuss it. Okay. No, let me just find it here. Here we go. And the invisible enemies. So, do you have any enemies? Not everyone can be a friend 100% of the time. It's not uncommon that when people feel jerked or slighted that they can turn. It's only their ego talking. Their spirit knows better. But the bruised ego can launch some beautiful souls into protection mode and even prompt them to raise a nasty emotional hand against their fellow man. Nobody wins in that game, and worse, it's tough to return to high vibes and fellowship when that negative output is invisible. I believe, though, that there are other invisible enemies that we let in all too often. Let's take sugar, for example. Now what you're expecting, eh? If you're like most and find that full-time work and family obligations have you making meal prep shortcuts and counting on the packaged goods in the center aisle of the supermarket, you likely consume things like salad dressings, ketchup, coffee additives, white bread, canned goods, jam, fruit drinks, or sodas, and believe you're eating healthy with that tub of yogurt, pasta sauce, energy bars, or cereal. Sugar is hidden in many processed foods as well as fast food, and is a known toxin that throws your body into an inflammatory state, not to mention adds empty calories. Also, sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Many will tell themselves, I don't eat that much sugar, remembering only that the occasional chocolate indulgence. But when clarity and energy are zapped, it's time to go looking for the culprits. What other invisible enemies have a chokehold on you being your best? EMF waves, unfulfilled work, mental programming. Why do we allow these to reroute us away from success? Aha! When there is no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot hurt you. Winston Churchill said that. Before you can detect when or where harm or negative influences are coming from, you need first to face when and why you allow them. When you actually take a side, your side, the side of expansion and elevation, you find yourself asking better questions, choosing your company differently, investing your time better, setting new boundaries, and simply focus on feeling good. It feels to me like more people are waking up to the joys of nature, choosing better quality food, actively seeking out enlightened conversations, working more closely with people than entities, looking for meaning in their work, seeing the value of movement under the sun, and overall just simplifying life. I believe that shift is initiated from within. Being complacent, simply going along and giving in to doing what is comfortable, easy, or what you've always done is all too easy. But is that what you deserve? I swore never to be silent whenever and wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Elie Wiesel said that. Be your own best friend and get on the side of right. That was a little bit of a tough one for me to write. You know that? I don't like talking about enemies. I'm sure I have them. I'm sure there are people who don't like me. I'm sure that happens with everybody. I don't know if they're enemies or just don't like me. That's what it is. I've certainly had a lot of changes in my network over the last couple of years because, like Elie Wiesel's quote, that I chose to take sides, and that didn't always sit well with some people, and they decided to turn. So, you know, that happens, and I find it tough. I have to say, I never stopped being their friend. I never stopped respecting them for who they were, what their opinions are. But I have been hung out to dry more often than once, and that doesn't really feel good. So, you know, nobody likes to have enemies. Nobody likes to have somebody that's against them. But it really is the point of this is that's part of life. That's part of what people, when I say, you know, it's their beautiful souls are not really in control there. It's their ego talking often, and they launch into protection mechanism. We talk often about the first law of being a human being in this physical suit, not the soul, not our spirit, but this physical suit that we're in, having this experience on this planet, is survival. And so we're always looking for safety. We're always looking for, you know, taking in lots of data. Where's our next meal coming from? Do we have water? Do we have, you know, and so we tend to run with that tribe because over hundreds of years, we've been conditioned that there's safety in that tribe. So doing something other than what the herd does can cause disruption emotionally, right? And so sometimes when somebody does think differently or do different things or has more of a line in the sand, or, you know, will stand up to something like that, some people don't like it. However, when it comes to our own well-being, we do need to question those beliefs. We do need to take a side, and that's our side. We need to stand up for ourselves, and we need to say, no, I'm not allowing that, and question those beliefs. And in an earlier AHA video, I mentioned about having conversation with Dr. Jussi Erkinen. And he said that, you know, and he is a well-researched doctor in many levels, currently working on neuroplasticity and what he calls healing core fractures. So your core of your being that have breaks in them, he can heal them through frequencies. So a very, very fascinating study. But he said the same thing. 99% of the people are running with law number one, which is survival, which is a very primitive law, right? But, you know, that is paramount. And when things get disrupted like they are now, and we haven't even started. I mean, there's certainly disruption around the world, and it's impacting different people in different countries in different ways, depending on, you know, who you are, where you are, what your religion is, what your bank account says, and whatever. But there's a lot of things going on that the average person is really not paying attention to. And so as this escalates, and it's going to get more challenging, and people are going to get more afraid. And when they do, survival, that rather than that feeling of, you know, we talked to Dr. Jussi, we talked about the feeling through the heart and the heart impulses and the connection that we have with other human beings, that, you know, what happens in survival, we go from the frontal cortex of, you know, sort of the rational thinking, logical, reasoning part of our brain, right down to the essence, the primitive brain, which is just on survival. And we shut down the thinking brain, and we shut down those impulses that happen through our heart. So we disconnect and we just worry about ourselves. And that's very dangerous from a population standpoint. So on a bigger picture, I care about humanity, so I am going to stand on the side of right for people in general. Not everybody appreciates that. I think a lot of people, maybe they think it's noble in a bigger way, but a lot of people will have commented that, well, it's none of your business what's happening to other people. You don't need to be their savior or anything. And I don't think that's the case. For me, it really is about the compassion and leading the way for that change to happen. So I would like to wake up more people to sort of see what's going on, but mostly to protect themselves. So this AHA is really focusing on that, is that we need to understand where we're sabotaging ourselves. So, and I mentioned sugar because that's not one that most people pay much attention to, in a way that, as I said, they might say, well, I have the hot chocolate bar. I don't put sugar in my coffee or, on my cereal or whatever, but they're also not reading labels. So and if they are that individual that I described, that, that they're working full time, they've got family obligations, they're probably running their kids to sports, all those things, like me, I mean, my life is always really busy, but health and freedom are two of my top two values. So making good quality food and paying money for food. Somebody said to me yesterday in a conversation, says, I get stressed out going to the grocery store now because I see the prices of everything. And it's like, I honestly don't pay attention to that. And not to say that sometimes I don't gasp at some of the prices of things, but the first thing that we need to do is take care of our minds and our bodies. We need to feed ourselves proper nutrition. And I will forego lots of other small luxuries, and I do, to make sure that I have good quality water and that I have a good bed to sleep on. And that my nutrition is sound. And I make 98% of my meals. I rarely go out. And if I do, we choose very carefully where we're going to go. I'm having friends over for dinner on Saturday, and I do that because then I know I can control the meal, and I'm happy to entertain them. So it doesn't mean that I have all that extra money to spend on food, but I think that, the most amount of money that you should be spending is taking care of yourself. So, and we said in there, not just nutrition, but look at all of the ways that you're sabotaging. My glasses that I wear are blue blockers because I know that the blue light is so damaging. I control the amount of blue light that I have. Dr. Rachel Maurice has introduced me to Dr. Jack Kruse, who is all about, he's very, very well studied in the Earth's energies. He talks a lot about sunlight. And so same thing like Rachel. I mean, I don't get up as early as she does. I get my face in the sun early in the day, try and get that circadian rhythm balance so that I can get a good sleep at night. I try and catch the sunset as often as I can, and definitely get outside at some point during the day. Today at 2:00, that was actually when I had my first meal. And even though it was a little bit cool outside, I took a blanket, and I just sat on the ground and I ate my lunch, with my face in the sun. So, and I know when I cheat myself out of good food, or not getting proper rest, or not getting nature, which happens during the Canadian winters. I mean, they're very, very difficult to get enough sunshine and get enough natural energy. Very, very difficult. Unless you leave town, then it's hard to get it. So I know what it feels like to not have that energy and not be feeding myself properly. So I think that's kind of the wake up call in this one, right? That we really need to pay attention to, how we're feeding ourselves, where those saboteurs are coming from, whether they're EMF waves. I mean, a lot of people aren't that cognizant. I mean, they wear earbuds, they're on Bluetooth all the time. They don't ever turn their phone on airplane mode, or, they're in front of the computer, they're flying, they're in big office towers or whatever, where the waves are just so concentrated and they're not paying attention to how destructive that is to their body. So there's so many little things like that the first thing we need to do is become curious and and stop some of those saboteurs from coming in, right? Start making some better decisions for ourselves. So yes, agreed. I hope so. I look forward to your comment. I also want to let you know that 50 simple ways to release the shackles of self-sabotage. Tough for me to get this on the camera because it's a glossy cover. There we go. It did hit bestseller when it came out very recently, and I'm really happy about that. It is not a big book. There are 50 simple ways. Each chapter is only 2, 3, 4 pages, but each one is very impactful. And what we are going to do, if you jump on the on ahumanaapproach.com and sign up obviously for Ha Moment Mondays, that you're going to get free and some other content. Join the membership, which is $11.11 a month. And if you buy the book, you get the first month's membership free. What we are going to do is take a chapter a week and we're going to break it down and have some exercises that will hold one another accountable, and we'll move forward and really start to take even better control. Okay. So I look forward to you being in there, and I hope you're having a wonderful week. And as always, succeed deliberately.